what's up, Dronrs? B here with Dronr Tech, and today we are going to be doing some hands-on with some very, very interesting things and a very interesting person. Let's get into it. I want to introduce my fam, the man, the legend. We call this man Doc, otherwise known as Night Flyer, otherwise known as David. A lot of different ways to call you. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. How about you?
Oh, man. I'm super excited to be here today because the things that we're going to talk about today are literally transcending the industry in the way that the form factor of a camera can change what you can do with it. And I'm going to start this off with a story. I met this man because of how drone cinematography is changing. And this man is a pro FPV pilot, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to have your Part 107, because by pro, I mean he just is really dope. I call him pro just because I call him that. But he's super amazing, like flying these things, super dope. He got found on Instagram by a director in LA that wanted him to shoot a music video. Imaginaste was the name of that video.
The remix.
The remix, thank you. The remix. And I got hired on just to have my drone insurance as well as my Part 107. This man was the pilot, but they couldn't hire him without having somebody to be the remote pilot in command. Producer knew me, brought me in. And that whole story, we actually did a whole interview that goes into that. So check it out, my other Dronr interviews. It's completely worth it. I'm not an FPV pilot yet. Yet. But what I am is a drone cinematographer. And seeing what he was able to do with the GoPro on that little drone completely blew my mind and changed the way that I saw drone cinematography happening. And so after that, we became friends. We decided to start working together and building towards being able to offer more drone cinematography services as a collective. And out of nowhere, I got a client, little client by the name of what's that? What's that? Pana who?
I think I've heard of that name. I can't pronounce it.
Panasonic.
Oh.
Panasonic actually was a client of mine working with a great friend of mine, David Smith, and they brought to us a camera that was not out yet. You may know this now, you may not. But this camera was not out, but we got early access to it because we were making the promo videos for what could be possible with this little bugger. Now, what's really special about this camera is two things. It's the form factor of that it's extremely small and it's a box, and it weighs a pound, which is a big deal.
Huge deal.
Huge deal. And it is also a GH5S on the inside. The innards of this camera is a GH5S, but the outwards, yes, outwards, that's my word, is a very small, light camera. And I had an idea. I was like, yo, I saw this dude flying like crazy with the GoPro. Maybe
strap that thing on there. See what happens.
Exactly. Maybe we can strap it on. So, like, do you remember like what that first phone call was like when I called you?
Yeah, it was. You definitely told me some of the specs and some of the stuff seemed unrealistic. And then when I got it in my hands, it was a whole different story. And it was a little bit of a struggle, man. But I'm excited to be a part of this, and it was definitely fun.
And I mean, the thing is, like, I remember, like, when we first started talking about this, you had a lot of different ideas of different types of frames. What we ended up landing on is that, I remember you were talking about 3, 5-inch, 7-inch, whatever kind of thing, but this is actually just a 5-inch frame, isn't it?
Yep, it was a 5-inch craft. I did try a Cinewoop, but it just didn't have the acrobatics and the feeling in the air like I wanted. Mm-hmm. The reason I wanted to stick with a 5-inch and not like a 6 or 7 or 10 like a lot of people were suggesting to me is because I want to prove that it can be accessible to those who do have 5-inch crafts, because FPV is definitely a niche.
Right.
But 5-inch is probably the most popular size of craft, the most kind of accessories and props and motors that are there available for you.
Right.
And I will say I tried quite a few different sets of motors with this and a few different frames. And you had to find the right thing to go with it. But I think we're going to be able to show everybody the path how to make this happen easily for you.
Oh, that's foreshadowing right there. Y'all wait for it, it's coming. But this man could curl up and be like, y'all, don't worry, y'all gonna see, stay tuned. Like, do you mind just like walking me through like what were the different thoughts that you're like, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, maybe this will work?
Well, there's a lot of people who are trying to use cinema-grade cameras right now on FPV drones, and they're taking a lot of the larger platforms and making custom stuff, and then that has its own parameters that it limits itself to. And of course, the crazier builds and the larger ones just kind of start getting close to what a DJI is, and so it really came down to what is the line of diminishing returns versus thrust and weight.
Right.
And we got handed this awesome camera with the form factor just being a little cube pretty much, and we just had to fight against that thrust versus weight and make sure that the stabilization and the drone and all of that was going to be working as one cohesive unit, because that can be a headache on some of these cameras, you know, and people will make custom drones that have a clean and dirty section just to fight against that stabilization.
Right.
But, you know, there's definitely some magic in this machine right here, and it made it easy, but there were some hurdles to overcome too.
That's so funny. You say hurdles. Now, you guys, he's talking really calm and professional right now, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm telling you right now, when we first gave him this camera, like the level of stress that was present in this moment where he's just like, I don't want to break this prototype camera.
Why is he telling on me like this?
No, but that's a real thing.
I was smooth the whole time, man.
No, you were smooth on set because you built like what you did was brilliant. You built first thing you did was built a box that is the same weight distribution, and just like, let me practice with that.
Yeah.
After you figure out how to mount it, after you figure out which quad is the best for it, after you figure out like all those other things.
Yeah, that was another thing. There's only how many of these cameras?
At 3 at the time.
3, yeah.
There's only 3.
Fling it on this drone, man.
Yeah, I was like, bro, take it. It's yours. Have fun. It's just the baby, you know?
With GoPros, there's warranties, and so you can send that thing into a wall, and it's all good. But this is a little bit of a different story. So, yeah, that was the first thing, is making the dummy camera so I could do all of the stupid or dummy things with it.
Oh, for sure.
And actually get away with it and find that line without risking what we were trying to do in such a short amount of time.
Well, you know, the thing is, I actually took a little bit of BTS footage of the very first time that we actually flew this camera. It was actually, we went to our park. It was me, David, and other David. So we'll call him Doc. Me, Doc, and other David. We went out, and it was the very first flight with the actual camera on. I believe that frame right there. So check it out. There you go. With David Smith right there. Doc, our pilot, and maybe the future. First flight. And as you can see, my man was ready. Like,
It was there.
you were just like, okay, it's gonna work, guys.
Well, I was trying to over-science it at first. We were trying all these different mounts and all these different ways to kind of make things where we were now with the GoPro, with what we were doing, like variable angle camera mounts on the fly.
Right.
But that's where I realized I was over-sciencing it and broke it down just to FPV couch, and I wanted to see where the problem was going to be with the camera, because that stabilization can kind of fight against you sometimes.
Right.
But I didn't realize how awesome the camera was going to be. And
Right,
so
that was crazy.
So I stuck to the simple plan, and it became more about like tuning and finding the right motors and props to make the thing happen with the flight time that we needed.
And that's a really good point that you're talking about, the stabilization. Because the biggest issue that we had is that we know with a lot of GoPros or other smaller cameras or any other camera that you have is like when you have the vibration coming from rotors like these that are very high, a lot of vibrations come from these. Regardless of the type of mount, there's gonna be a level of that vibration which can give you like the jello or just give you like, you know, the camera doing like this, or even like you say, micro vibrations that just make the frames and make the footage not look natural is the whole point. And you know, he had to teach me a lot about which specific frame rates work for FPV flying, because you're moving a lot faster than, let's say, most of any of these DJI drones are doing. You have to change the way that you're filming them. And so the real concern wasn't necessarily, can we get this thing up and can we keep it in the air and safe and fly? That was a concern, but after this mad scientist figured it out, his biggest concern was, will this have the stability, image stability, to be able to have a regular mount, a hard mount, and would the footage look good? And that's what that first test that you guys just saw, that's what literally, we were testing those two things. Can this fly comfortably, which he, flying colors. My man literally mad scientist that. And then the other thing was, does the footage look good? And we expected to be there flying for hours to be able to tweak and all that kind of stuff. First flight.
I think we did two flights,
but after the first flight, we were just like,
well, we were so blown away by it. We turned the stabilization off. Let's just see what happens with the stabilization off.
We were just playing at that point. Like, well, let's just see what happens when you turn it off. And it still looked great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Like, this camera is incredible for that. Y'all, check out what this footage looked like for what we actually did with it.
Across the board, whether it's a big TV show or a documentary, there is always somehow a reason that we need to get into a small space.
The qualifiers of this camera that makes it different from all of the other cameras that people have been trying to make sure to get on FPV drones is its form factor, the weight, and of course the amazing quality footage that it can capture.
My initial reaction to this camera was, wow, they have finally created something that can capture all my beauty. It's a lot going on. So to get a camera that can capture literally all of me on a streaming platform, they hit the nail on the head with this one.
So with this pandemic that has hit, it has been very tough to be in the live event business. The shift or the opportunity that comes is, of course, virtual. To have the ability to take the same camera that we would shoot live events and then go virtual and do an online experience with the same camera, game changer.
So with all cameras, you have drawbacks on one side or the other. You can either have a camera whose image quality is amazing, but the ergonomics are not. Or on the other side of that, you have a camera that might be sort of built for ergonomics, but the image quality is lacking. So to have something that takes both of those things and puts it all into one little box is helpful.
The box camera from Panasonic is very unique in the sense that it's perfectly suited for a multitude of different things. I mean, you could use it on small gimbals, car mounts, obviously, inside and outside, and drone definitely being one of them. It's the most ergonomic camera I've ever used on a drone.
The box camera is the first time that I've seen the components that we need. SDI cables, the inputs, the gen lock, the fact that we have all of those components and be able to plug in an Ethernet cable into this camera, it's a huge, huge thing for our business. I like the fact that I can take this box and custom build my own system, and it's just a perfect opportunity for us to get the most out of a camera, both live and virtually.
When you've been working with DSLRs and then you go to a front-facing camera on your laptop, you're literally going back to like 720. To have something that could, take your content to eons above where it currently is, just on quality alone, but not have to sacrifice that space, is a game changer.
The build quality of this camera is incredible. It felt like something that was tough that you could still play with. It's a toy, but it's a solid toy.
Action cameras are designed to take a beating, to be there in the middle of the action. Cinema grade cameras are frail. This is the first step into a cinema grade camera that is built solid and can take a beating, and it applies perfect to what we're doing here.
With this camera, they've broken it down so you've got the simplest aspect of what a camera is, and what that's doing is magnifying the possibilities for the cinematographer using it.
Not every job that we do is the same, so the fact that we were able to go shoot a scene in a movie and then use that same camera to go do a multicam live event and use that same camera to go shoot a commercial, I've never seen anything like it.
Panasonic.
Bruh, like, you went off.
Dude, it was such an awesome day with shooting and everything. And
Yeah.
it was, I had a good team behind me too. My favorite part about this camera was it took a lot of those nuances that I worry about in the shot, and it just kind of threw those worries out the window so I could focus on the creative and the actual like skill of the pilot part of it, and it's a lot of anxiety during a shoot, you got
No, so this is the part you were cool. Like on the entire build, on the entire everything, like getting ready for the shoot, the day before the shoot, like everything. It was like stress, anxiety. Day of the shoot, my man showed up, was just like,
we got this.
my man hit every single mark. And I can't tell you how important that is to have somebody as a drone pilot that can really understand direction as well as understand creatively what you're going for. And that is a beautiful thing that you were able to do, is we gave you the creative. You knew what we were doing ahead of time, and you also knew what we were going for in every shot, and you were able to accomplish that. And you can see it in that footage that you guys just saw, is that we had a really, really good time shooting in that beautiful location with those amazing parkour artists. And it couldn't have gone better. Like, it was literally a half-day shoot. And we even took this camera and actually put it on a Matrice 600 as well to be able to get some of those super stable shots you saw.
That was
like
wild too.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah, that got a little. Man, I'll say the Matrice it's a platform,
That
but
thing is a monster.
it's
man.
a monster.
It's the only thing that I found myself taking a step or two away from it when it came down to flying.
Oh,
man.
for sure. Yeah, it's like this thing will hurt you.
Yeah,
It might kill you.
intimidating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
possibility.
times. That day legitimately changed what I thought was possible with seeing a camera moving in space. And this camera specifically, being able to do that was not easy. To be able to put it on that drone, to be able to fly it effectively, to be able to do that weight to thrust balance, to be able to do all the mad scientist things that I honestly don't understand that you did, is a really big deal and a game changer. And it looks like, this is something that's part of my repertoire moving forward when it comes to like what we kind of offer as drone cinematography.
It's an amazing tool, man.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for when this comes out and I'm able to offer this to the clients that we're looking for certain shots, because
Yeah.
I'm limited a lot when they're like, okay, so what kind of camera can we put on this and what kind of lens? I'm like, GoPro?
Exactly.
Or, action cameras of any sort, but
Right.
they get. They understand what the limitations are, but this is going to blur that line to a whole new extent. And so, yeah, the future is ours, man.
The future is ours. And the cool thing is that because we got our hands on this ahead of time, we can offer it as soon as it comes out. And we're speaking into the future right now.
Hey.
By the time y'all are watching this camera is out. But we're out doing it, and I just wanted to let you guys know that this is absolutely incredible for FPV flying. It is not easy, but we will be putting together a series of videos to be able to help you understand how that works, as well as, how to play with FPV stuff. You're gonna see a lot of stuff from this guy with doing that. So we're out here.
We're out here.
Droners, thank you guys so much for checking out this forward-thinking, forward-tech, forward-genius episode of Dronr with Doc. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see more dope content about more things that we get to do, you got them, because that's what we do. Dronr Tech. Check it out. And as always, make sure that you subscribe and stay fly.